Something's going on in Rancho Mirage. I can tell that today, huh? Good afternoon and welcome everybody to the Rancho Mirage City Council meeting for Thursday, April 18, 2019. The council also serves as the library and observatory board, the housing authority, and the city council representing the redevelopment successor agency. So I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we'll begin with the flag salute, which I'll lead, and then if you would stay standing for a brief moment of silence for the life of Barbara Keller. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the first item on the agenda, and that's the consent calendar. And that'll be presented by Isaiah Hegerman, our city manager.
Can I interrupt real quickly? We'll need to do the call of roll.
Okay.
Councilmember Hobart?
Here.
Councilmember Townsend?
Here.
Councilmember Weil?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smotrich? Here. And Mayor Kite.
Here, and that's going to be the last mistake I'll make this year. Okay? Okay, getting back to where I was, we were on the consent calendar, and Isaiah, will you present those items?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of the City Council, you have 4 items on your consent calendar today for consideration. Item number 1 is to waive the full reading of all ordinances introduced or adopted pursuant to this agenda. Item number 2 is the approval of a fireworks display for a wedding at Morningside Country Club. All requirements have been met, including the 1-mile notification radius. Item number 3 is the annual rent recertifications for our affordable housing properties. This will set the rent levels for fiscal year 1920. And item number 4 are demands, and staff is here to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments, questions down this way?
I'd like to pull number 2.
Pull number 2, please. That's the fireworks display?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Nope.
Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on these items? Okay, thank you very much. We'll go ahead, and could I have a motion for this, for the consent calendar less item number 2?
So moved. Second.
Please vote.
Item carries. Motion carries 5-0.
And we'll now go back to item number 2. Dana, your question on this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 2 refers to a wedding at Morningside coming up within the next month or so, April 27th, I guess. It indicates that it wants permission for the following. It says salute-style fireworks are an explosive pyrotechnic shell that is primarily designed to make a loud bang with a very intense flash of light and can be significantly disturbing to nearby pets and residents. We've got 3 dogs. One of them is more than significantly disturbed by fireworks on 4th of July. They are, I mean, we literally hope she survives each time. The problem here is not so much to keep somebody from having fireworks, but they say they want to do it for approximately 5 minutes. And they have something that maybe somebody here can explain to me, because I don't know what an explosive pyrotechnic shell is that's designed to make a loud bang. I'd like to have some idea of it's not like normal fireworks. And 5 minutes, I I think is too much for at least that part of it.
Yeah, we agree with you, and policy agrees with you. So the first sentence actually says, "We prohibit salutes." And then that second sentence that you read is the definition of a salute. So this show does not include that type of firework.
Okay, that's out. How about the time? Can we reduce the time for the fireworks? You know, they can do lights and all of that as long as they want. I don't have any objection with that, but I mean, there are a lot of people that have dogs. We're not the only ones, and that noise is significantly disturbing. And I would hope that maybe we could cut it to 2 or 3 minutes, no more than 2 or 3 minutes for the pyrotechnic or the loud explosion types.
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we want to have a motion, please, on item number 2 with the changes?
I would move that we approve it, subject to the modification we've just discussed.
Second that.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Excuse me, motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to the public hearing. And this is item number 5, the residences of Rancho Mirage Country Club. And it'll be presented by Bud Kopp, our planning manager. Bud?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good afternoon, council, members of the public. Let me get the presentation. Okay. Today's project for your consideration is called the Residences at Rancho Mirage Country Club. This project involves multiple applications, including an environmental, which we're recommending a mitigated negative declaration for. It includes a general plan zoning land use map amendment on approximately 25 acres in order of private open space in order to permit a hotel and 108 condominium units. Tentative tract map is involved, which divides the 25 acres into 8 parcels. A preliminary development plan is involved, which prescribes all landscaping and architecture within the resort development, and a development agreement is also proposed. I'd like to thank our subcommittee council members Ted Weil and Charles Townsend for assisting staff in navigating through the sometimes challenging process over the past 18 months. Their questions, comments, and feedback have been invaluable in moving this project forward to this stage of considering final entitlements this afternoon. At this point, I'd like to turn the first portion of the presentation over to City Attorney Steve Quintanilla, who will summarize the salient aspects of the development agreement. Steve?
Thank you, Bud. Same audience from Planning Commission plus more for today. Okay, some of you probably heard this, heard our presentation, but we have to do it again. This is a very unique project in that it not only requires certain changes to our zoning and we're dealing with a different kind of project. We're not dealing with your straightforward run-of-the-mill subdivision project, but we're also including a condo hotel component into this project in addition to your traditional hotel project. And because we are dealing with the condo hotel project, the municipal code requires us to actually prepare and consider a development agreement. A development agreement is an agreement between the city and the developer with respect to certain standards that are going to be imposed on the condo hotel development component of the project. And so that's why we need a development agreement here. Typically, we wouldn't require one or need one if we were just dealing with a project that did not have such a component attached to it. So in California allows cities and developers to enter into development agreements that basically provide assurances to the developer that we're not going to change the rules on the developer sometime in the future. Sometimes when we approve projects, the city can change the rules and regulations in the future if we have a change in our rules and regulations. But in this case, we won't be able to do that unless there's some sort of health or safety issue that comes up in the future. And with respect to the condo hotel project standards, the city, in order to relieve or to change some of those standards with respect to this particular project, requires us to have a development agreement. So in our code, for the development standards for condo hotels, typically the default rule is that you can't have more than 10% of the total amount of units in the project be condo hotel units. So 10% of this project would limit them to 17 condo hotel units. The proposal in the development agreement is to allow them to have up to 65% of those units as condo hotel units. That's 108 units. And that request is being made by the developer with the support of the HOA board of directors who we've been dealing with, and that's for marketing purposes, I assume. The other restriction that's in the code is that an owner cannot rent their unit or occupy their unit for more than 27 calendar days per year. We're relieving that to remove that restriction, so we can have some full-time owners there. When I talk about the owners, I'm talking about fractional owners. So this is not a timeshare. This is an actual interest in real property, which is different than a timeshare. When you own a timeshare, you own interest in time. In the case of fractional owners, they actually own the real estate. The other restriction that we're changing here is that under the current rules in the municipal code, the owner cannot rent out the unit for more than 27 calendar days per month. And we're relieving them of that restriction. And the purpose of the 27 calendar days is that anytime there's a unit that's rented out for 27 consecutive days or less per month, the city collects a transient occupancy tax, which a lot of people know as a hotel bed tax. So that's the reason why the primary reason why we need a development agreement. On top of that, we have a very unique situation with this project because we have a really complicated history that goes back long ago when Alan Seaman was here and Ron Beeples was here. So I'm sure they're looking down on us, thanking this council, please. Let's get through this, and this is going to resolve a lot of the conflict that's been in existence out there for many years. So we also have a very unique situation here because of the ownership interests. In Rancho Mirage Country Club, we have the owners of the units. They own their units as a condominium interest. So it's just like a condominium project, except that they have separate detached units in some cases. But most of the common areas, including the lakes and the golf course and the clubhouse, are owned by somebody else. And if many of you recall, there's been a lot of issues with respect to the operation of the golf course and the dead grass, and the city's been involved with that. And finally, we reached a consensus amongst the board of directors who we've been working with and the representatives of the golf course property and the lakes and the other golf course related facilities, that they've come up with this plan to build a hotel development as part of this residential project that includes as a component the condo hotel portion. And also there's going to be some renovation of the golf course. And after the golf course is renovated, everything's approved, the homeowners association is going to take control and ownership of the golf course. So that's the reason why we have a development agreement. And Bud, our planner over here, is going to go through the details of each of the land use entitlements.
Thank you, Mr. Quintanilla. Okay. So the residents at Rancho Mirage Country Club, the proposed project is located in the middle of Rancho Mirage Country Club. This aerial shows existing conditions, including the clubhouse and the surrounding 266 dwelling units. To the north of Rancho Mirage Country Club is Section 31 specific plan, which is currently undergoing entitlement. To the east is residential estate zoning along Vista del Sol. To the south is Eisenhower Medical Center, and to the west is the S and Desert Island. The existing general plan and zoning of Rancho Mirage Country Club is very low-density residential, RL2, and as shown in yellow, with private open space designation for the golf course and golf course-related amenities shown in green. The proposed map amendment does not affect underlying zoning of existing homes within Rancho Mirage Country Club or the outer 9 holes of golf. The proposed amendment would change a 24.7-acre portion in the center of Rancho Mirage Country Club to resort hotel zoning, as shown on the screen. This would allow the proposed conversion of the existing clubhouse to a hotel lobby, permit 60 hotel rooms, and the associated 108 condominium units. A tentative tract map for condominium purposes is also provided as a part of this project. The parcel boundaries correspond with the proposed phasing plan. 8 lots are being proposed. Lot 1 is the resort hotel, and Lot 8 is the inner refurbished 9 holes of golf, with the remaining lots being proposed condominiums in phases. As you can see on the preliminary grading plans, the majority of existing homes in Rancho Mirage Country Club sit at a much higher elevation than the proposed new buildings in this project. As indicated on the outer portions of this slide, the black text with blue arrows surrounding the image represents the pad elevations of existing homes within Rancho Mirage Country Club. The green arrows and text indicate how much higher the existing homes in Rancho Mirage Country Club are in comparison to the pad elevations within the proposed project. For example, on the north side, the existing homes range between 9 and 26 feet higher than the proposed project. On the east side, existing homes will be between 4 and 24 feet higher, and on the west side, existing homes are about 3 feet higher. The only homes within Rancho Mirage Country Club that will sit lower than the pads of the proposed condominium units are along the South Loop Street. The homes are about even with the proposed pad elevations for the new condominiums, but in the middle of the South Loop Street, as you can see, existing homes will sit about 3 feet lower, as shown in red, but will have a 200-foot golf course buffer between the proposed condominiums and the existing homes. The difference in pad elevations primarily due to the natural grade of the land. The low spot also accommodates a large lake which functions as a stormwater retention basin. Because the existing clubhouse sits lower than the existing homes, a lift station was required when the original clubhouse was built. The lift station will need to be enlarged to serve the proposed project, and conditions of approval require using state-of-the-art odor mitigation technology. We believe that the applicant has done a superb job positioning the new pad elevations and open space buffer to minimize view impacts for existing Rancho Mirage Country Club residents. This will be a phased project, and Phase 1 will include perimeter parkway landscape upgrades along Vista del Sol, Frank Sinatra, and Bob Hope. I'd like to start the presentation by describing perimeter upgrades in the new circulation system for this project. As shown by the red X on the screen, the existing gatehouse on Cavendish at Bob Hope will be removed to create an unobstructed public entrance to the proposed hotel and condos in the center of the project. About 460 feet east of the existing traffic signal on Bob Hope and Cavendish, new decorative vehicular gates, shown in blue, will be installed on the north and south sides of the West Cavendish Loop to maintain security for existing Rancho Mirage Country Club residents per City Ordinance 860. Although residents may still use this point of ingress-egress, the main public entry for Rancho Mirage Country Club residents and guests will be a new facility located on Frank Sinatra. The Bob Hope entry will receive significant enhancement, including new aggregate paver bands with stone inlay, artificial turf, water-efficient landscaping, and a new center island with a unique water feature made of Corten steel with mounted landscaping. Small pockets of water will also flank the north and south sides of the entrance. The new main entry on Frank Sinatra Drive will align with the proposed gated community in Section 31 to the north. This will become the new primary entrance for residents and guests of Rancho Mirage Country Club. A deceleration lane and full turning movements will be provided at the intersection. Access to an overflow, valet, employee, and oversized vehicle parking lot is also provided at this location, as shown on the screen. We've conditioned that resort traffic using this parking lot be strictly prohibited from using the private streets through Rancho Mirage Country Club for cut-through traffic. The purpose of the gate on Vista del Sol on the right-hand side of the screen is for secondary emergency vehicle access. The new gatehouse facade on Frank Sinatra is attractive and includes details such as deep overhangs with recessed lighting, architectural fins, louvers, and attractively landscaped raised planters. Colors and materials provide a contemporary palette. Stacked bond brick planters with a shot blast California gold finish are shown in the foreground, and the structure is a mixture of white plaster, natural anodized metal siding, dark gray metal roof, and natural wood in kumaru used under the soffits. The intersection of Frank Sinatra and Bob Hope is designated as a special corner overlay. The city's expectation in this case is that landscaping be enhanced to the levels expected of primary entrances with generous proportions, upgraded landscaping, and other features of aesthetic interest. The applicant provides a unique blend of Corten steel water features and planter walls at this location. Corten steel ages gracefully with a nice patina and will establish an attractive backdrop for the formally arranged shrubs. This formal shrub arrangement complements the articulate landscape design of Sunnylands on the opposite side of the intersection. Shrubs are water efficient, climate appropriate, and are consistent with the type and size used throughout this project. Sidewalks will receive stone paver inlay, and landscaping includes focus accent lights, tree and palm uplighting, as well as wall washes for the Corten berms. All landscaping along Bob Hope, Frank Sinatra, and Vista del Sol frontages will be upgraded, including new water-efficient trees, vegetation, and ground cover. Trees include willow and sweet acacia, desert museum palo verde, and fan palms. Larger shrubs include agave, ocotillo, desert spoon, aloe, and regal mist, just to name a few. Ground cover will be decomposed granite, and boulders are generously proportioned in size from 2 to 5 feet. Also, the existing perimeter wall around Rancho Mirage Country Club will be repainted, and in lieu of the tile inlay, tonal variation in color will occur. Once inside the upgraded entry on Bob Hope at Cavendish, you'll approach the existing 2-story clubhouse that will be refurbished into the hotel lobby. The existing 31.5-foot height of the clubhouse will not change. Upon arrival at the hotel lobby, which is actually the upper level of the structure, one will be greeted by majestic date palms and a porte-cochere for weather protection. The main upper level of the hotel lobby includes small meeting rooms, a bar with lounge, dining room, kitchen, and miscellaneous administrative functions. The main level of the hotel lobby also includes an outdoor terrace overlooking the pool area and central part of the resort. The lower level of the lobby is partially subterranean. The east side of that building is at grade with the pool area and hotel buildings. And the lower level includes a small spa facility, breakfast room, fitness, pro shop, cart storage, and miscellaneous back-of-house functions, including a delivery area. The total square footage of the hotel lobby is just over 31,000 square feet. Immediately east of the new hotel lobby are the hotel rooms. The north and south wings each have 15 units per floor for a total of 60 units. Each room is at least 460 square feet in size, and self-parking is provided in front of the rooms, with valet parking also being offered. The 108 condominium units are situated around the perimeter of the hotel. Each unit has a lock-off unit as detailed in the development agreement to potentially add 108 more keys to the hotel. Guest parking is adequate and double the city code requirement. Each condo has a 2-car garage and 1 additional guest parking space. We've added a condition to add several conveniently located bump outs for temporary parking of gardening, housekeeping, and delivery vehicles around these private perimeter streets that need to be shown in the final development plan. And staff will work with the applicant to ensure that these features have minimal impact on parking. This will be a phased project. Phase 1, shown in the middle and upper left corner of the screen, includes the new hotel lobby and all of its associated amenities, 60 hotel rooms, and the resort pool. Also included within Phase 1 is modification of the inner 9 holes of golf, including shortening some of the fairways and modification of the lakes to meet the hydrology requirements of this project. Phase 1 also includes the first 12 condominium units. We have also conditioned that a certified arborist evaluate all existing trees on the golf course and provide a tree replacement program as necessary to ensure that all trees are alive and thriving as a part of Phase 1. The perimeter landscaping along Frank Sinatra, Bob Hope, and Vista del Sol, along with the new entry gates, will also be completed in Phase 1. Each additional phase will contain 20 condominium units, except for Phase 5, which will have 16 units. New landscaping leading to the hotel lobby portico share includes 13 stately date palms, a water feature, Core 10 planter walls, and a colorful array of desert shrubs. The architecture of the refurbished clubhouse has contemporary influences from the 70s and 80s, with a mix of colors, materials, and textures to give the structure a fresh and modern appeal. Exterior materials include smooth plaster, corrugated, and natural anodized metal applied in both vertical and horizontal application, natural wood soffits, powder coat fenestration, and CMU limestone. As shown on this slide, the lobby is on the left, and immediately to the east is a date palm lined promenade that runs north and on a north-south axis that connects the centrally located resort amenities and smaller event lawns to the surrounding condominiums. A resort pool in the center is flanked with the 60 hotel rooms, and to the east of the resort pool is the main event lawn. This would be the view as seen from the terrace adjacent to the hotel lounge and dining room on the upper level of the existing clubhouse lobby. The rendering looks east towards the hotel rooms surrounding the resort pool with the main event lawn beyond. Surrounding the pool is themed Core 10 metal fencing, cabanas, and a mixture of date palms, acacia, and raised planters with shrubs. At the eastern end of the resort pool is the main event lawn, which is overlooked by 2 wings of proposed condominiums. The area is buffered from existing Rancho Mirage Country Club homes with bermed landscaping, Core 10 planter walls, and a small water feature. We have added a condition of approval that the berm be at least 8 feet in height to help absorb noise, deflect it back towards the hotel, and to provide an attractive visual screen for existing Rancho Mirage Country Club residents. We've also conditioned that the resort provides homeowners and the Homeowners Association with frequent notification of events and up-to-date contact information should noise in these outdoor spaces become an issue. Regardless, the project is required to comply with the city's noise standards. There are 27 condominium buildings that surround the hotel, each with 2 ground floor units and 2 second floor units for a total of 108 stacked condominium units. There are 2 different types of buildings, type 1, type 2, each with its own unique ground level floor plan and upper story floor plan, for a total of 4 different floor plans. This is a floor plan for Residence 2, which is about 2,000 square feet, containing 2 bedrooms, each with its own ensuite and a private enclosed courtyard. One of the bedrooms serves as a 475 square foot lock-off unit, as highlighted in yellow, and the upstairs units in Residence 2 contain the largest lock-off unit at 527 square feet. Residence 1 is slightly larger at 2,300 square feet with 3 bedrooms, including the lock-off unit. All condos include a large great room with direct access to a covered patio or balcony with an outdoor fireplace. Each unit is provided with a 2-car garage at the ground level, and in addition, 1 guest parking space is provided for each lock-off unit. This is a perspective showing the massing of residence type 1. Note the use of stacked bond masonry, stucco modulation, architectural louvers and fins to add an interesting shadow effect to the architecture. This rendering depicts a typical residence 2 located along the meandering stream as shown in the foreground. Each unit will have private outdoor space overlooking the dramatically choreographed landscape. All residential buildings are consistent with the color and material palette for the hotel. Although using the same contemporary architectural style, residence types 1 and 2 have slightly different modulation, articulation, and application of colors and materials. The proposed architecture has a high level of interest and detail, shadow play, and an abundance of outdoor living space. In addition to the unique brand of contemporary architecture, the meandering water features are a key landscape component which sets this project apart. It's apparent that a great deal of thoughtful planning went into this unique landscape feature, which will ensure enjoyment by residents and guests. As shown in the thumbnail rendering at the top, architectural bridges will occasionally cross the stream with thoughtfully positioned seating areas overlooking the landscape. Where private streets cross the stream, the sides of the bridges will utilize theme stone and Core 10 materials consistent with the overall palette of the project. The water feature gently meanders between clusters of condominium units that overlook a series of cascading waterfalls. Various trees will line the stream for shade and include rosewood, willow acacia, mesquite, mulga, and palo verde. Palm trees are interspersed among artificial turf lawns overlooking the stream. Trees will be uplit and pathway lighting is provided for nighttime ambiance and the safety and convenience of pedestrians. The City conducted an environmental assessment on this infill site, which resulted in our recommendation to adopt a mitigated negative declaration and a mitigation monitoring program. Much of the project was found to be self-mitigating through its thoughtful aspect and design. However, a few additional measures were included to ensure that impacts remained less than significant. These are addressed in the mitigation monitoring program, included as conditions of approval, and are summarized in the staff report. The Architectural Review Board endorsed the project in November. They were of the opinion that the architecture was well done, that a great deal of thought went into the design of the open spaces, minimizing height impacts and preserving view sheds for existing Rancho Mirage Country Club residents. Following the public hearing at their March 28th meeting, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended that the City Council approve this project based on the conditions, contents, and findings of the staff report. And I would be happy to answer any questions. On the screen, you have the 5 considerations before you today, and they do need to be taken in a particular order. Thank you.
Thank you, Bud. And excellent job in presenting the program. I think everything was really very well covered. Do have a couple of questions regarding phasing. In the report, you discussed the initial phase 1, which included a number of units, hotel and condo. Can you give us a little bit more detail on that and when it might take place?
The, let's see, can we go back to slide, I believe it's 2? Okay. These are the phases that you see right here, and where the number 1 is, that includes the refurbishment of the existing clubhouse into a hotel lobby. It includes the 60 hotel rooms, the resort pool, and the event lawn, and basically the hotel plus all amenities. It also includes parcel number 2, which includes the first I believe, 16 or 12. It includes the first 12 dwelling units. And then also as a part of phase one, as shown on number 8 here, the existing inner golf course will be refurbished as conditioned. A tree replacement plan will be provided as a part of phase one. And then also all perimeter landscaping along Bob Hope, Frank Sinatra, and Vista del Sol will be included in phase one. I'm sorry, I didn't have my speaker on. Phase one will also include removal of the existing gatehouse on the Bob Hope side and installation of the 2 vehicular gates for along the West Loop Street. And it'll include replacement of the new gatehouse for existing Rancho Mirage Country Club residents on Frank Sinatra. Now, the city does have an ordinance 860, which requires in existing gated communities that the security needs to be preserved. So the gatehouse, before they can eliminate the gatehouse, they have to build the new gates and install the new gatehouse on Frank Sinatra. So the existing Rancho Mirage Country Club residents remain within a secure community, and then the construction can commence. And we've also added conditions of approval when construction commences that construction vehicles cannot queue on the entry street there by the existing residences. They need to go straight to the middle of the site, because I know that we've had problems in the past with other projects. People queue up in the morning and they talk, play loud music at 7 in the morning. So there are conditions that prevent that. So all of those components would be included as a part of phase one.
So phase one includes the security gates at both Frank Sinatra and Bob Hope?
Yes, that's correct.
And
the new gatehouse on the Frank Sinatra side.
Is there any requirement time-wise that one of those be destroyed and the other be begun construction on?
The way that the conditions read is that they need to construct the facilities before they can eliminate the existing gatehouse.
Okay.
So it maintains security within Rancho Mirage Country Club at all times within a gated community.
Great. I think that's really important for the residents that are there now to continue to have the quality of security that they have. Okay, thank you. Is there any questions?
Yes, I do. Is there a developer on board now to build this?
I've been working with the team that's entitling the project. Today's kind of a milestone day in consideration of planning entitlements. If planning entitlements are granted, the next step by the applicant would be to market the project as an entitled project and attract a developer to develop the project.
Very good. But I have another question. Because it's so huge, phase 1, 2, or 3, is it going to be offered to different developers, or can one developer really take on this whole project and build it to completion?
Well, that may be most appropriate for the applicant to respond to, but certainly a large developer could acquire the entire project, or perhaps the hotel is built independently of the condominium units.
And along with this, would be there a time limit to 1, 2, 3, and 4 being built? In other words, do they have to build it in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years to completion?
Unless it's specified otherwise in the development agreement, entitlements are for 2 years, and then they would file a time extension request, and they would be eligible for 3 additional time extension requests.
Thank you.
One last question on the condo hotel. Initially, construction would be on 20 units, is that correct? in phases 2020,
There is, in your agenda package, in the exhibit booklet, there's a table on page 4, and it lists in phase 1 a total of 12 dwelling units on lot 2, and that would be in phase 1. So there's 12 dwelling units in phase 1 on lot 2. And then each subsequent phase will include 20 additional dwelling units, with the exception of phase 5, that will include 16 condominium units.
Do those condo units have to be built at the same time as the hotel?
That, it's a part of phase 1, it could be, but if the hotel, the way that it's worded right now is that the hotel and condos are a part of phase 1, so they could pull permits simultaneously or they could be separate.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Dana?
Just a couple of questions. Bud, once the hotel is completed and in place, I'm concerned about impact at the entrance off of Bob Hope. Will every vehicle entering have to stop at a guard gate, be identified as a potential renter of a room in the hotel? And if so, have we taken into consideration the impact that may affect Bob Hope with some cars waiting in line to get in?
The existing gatehouse on Bob Hope will be removed so that traffic that visits the hotel, they can exit Bob Hope and go directly to the hotel without having to go through a guardhouse. In order to maintain security within Rancho Mirage Country Club, can I have this presentation back on, please? Okay. As you can see on the screen here, as shown with the red X, that's where the existing gatehouse is on Bob Hope. That would be removed as a part of phase 1. And as shown in blue here, new vehicular gates would be added to the West Loop Street of Cavendish to maintain security within Rancho Mirage Country Club. At the same time, they would be constructing the new gate on the Frank Sinatra side. So that would become the main entry on Frank Sinatra's side. These new blue gates would maintain the security within Rancho Mirage Country Club, and then the gate, as shown in the X, would be removed so that security was maintained at all times, and then the public would be able to have unobstructed access to this new resort. So there will not be a queuing issue, but the traffic timing, the signal timing will have to be readjusted per Public Works conditions.
One other question. As you know, we've had issues with the owners of property along Vista del Sol with respect to undergrounding the overhead, what will be the overhead lines. And I'm just wondering, is there anything about this project that affects the direction, whether we go undergrounding on Vista del Sol or whether we go above ground on the electric lines there?
The applicant has been conditioned to underground the distribution lines on Vista del Sol, which are the low voltage lines. There are high voltage lines on Vista del Sol, which, of course, we don't require high voltage lines to be undergrounded as a part of the project. So they will be doing that. Also, they do have frontage on Vista del Sol, which abuts the overflow parking lot, and they will be installing new decorative gates and landscaping. Right now, it looks pretty bad with a bunch of weeds, but all of the landscaping along their frontage of Vista del Sol will be improved to the quality that you'll see along Bob Hope and Frank Sinatra. Does that answer your question?
I'm going to ask our city manager if he sees any impact there. I know that it's been an ongoing problem for quite a while, and I'm wondering, does this set any kind of precedent that affects the undergrounding of lines, overhead lines on Vista del Sol?
No, and any undergrounding happening on Vista del Sol right now is only distribution lines. And so this project will underground the distribution lines. So it'll be consistent through that whole street.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Bud.
Any other questions? Yes, Steve.
I have a couple comments. I wanted to respond to Councilmember Townsend's question about basically a construction schedule. We don't have a construction schedule included here. The only thing that we provide in here is that the city will expedite the processing of any entitlements like building permits and things like that. And so that means that it defaults to all of the default provisions that deal with the expiration of the entitlements. But part of the initial phase of the development is going to require the developer to redesign and renovate the existing golf course to turn it into an executive golf course. So that's at the top of the list. I also made a reference to kind of the complicated history between the parties here, and I'm sure most of us know that there is a settlement agreement between the HOA and the applicant. And so to ensure that those provisions of that settlement agreement are enforced or consistent with the development agreement, we included a provision in here that makes the homeowners association a third-party beneficiary to the contract with respect to those terms and provisions of the settlement agreement that are important to the development of the project. That means we just give them standing to come in and enforce the development agreement in the event that the developer slacks off in the future. So they can come in and have that enforced. And so we made sure that the HOA's interests as set forth in their development agreement there's adequate protection in there for them. But I would like to ask, when you get into the public comment period, if the attorney for either the homeowners association or the applicant to explain to the council and the public the terms with respect to the transfer of the golf course property, because I think some of us may be curious about that. And I've never actually reviewed their settlement agreement, but I know there's been some questions in the past about how that transfer is going to occur and what it comes with respect to maintenance obligations.
Steve, you mentioned renovation of the golf course. Who ultimately will be responsible for the maintenance of the cost of the maintenance of the golf course?
That's what I want one of the attorneys to respond to, since that's most likely spelled out in their settlement agreement. We just know under our development agreement it has to be maintained, and under our municipal code it has to be maintained. We just need to know who to go after when there's a problem.
And Steve, I have a question. Is the HOA in partnership in any form with this new development?
Well, their interests are represented in, again, we've been working with the board of directors, so we have not been working with all the individual homeowners. We've asked the board of directors to let us know who's on the board of directors and who we should be communicating with. Because there's not, 100% consensus on this project out there. But yeah, their interests are incorporated or protected in the settlement agreement as a third-party beneficiary.
Okay, and it's all voted on, and everybody's happy?
I wouldn't ask that question.
Not yet,
Everybody
Charlie.
happy out there?
Okay, if there are no further questions, we'll go to the public hearing portion of the meeting. And this will give you all an opportunity to discuss any issues which you may have. If you filled out a yellow form like this, we have your name up here to call. If you haven't done that, we will take questions after these initial ones. So beginning the question phase, we have a request from Stan Levinson. Public comments.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. About 20 years ago, I moved to the desert from La Jolla, California, and I was most impressed by two communities, Rancho Mirage and Indian Wells. So I forgot about looking for a place to buy a home in any other place other than those. And I happened to buy the last building or last house that was put up for sale, brand new, at Rancho Mirage. And at the time, in 1973, when this city was incorporated, Rancho Mirage zoned all of that property as R2. The only exception was the area that Bob Hope donated for the Eisenhower Medical Center, and that had to be zoned differently, and I'm very thankful that it's there. It's a great added thing for our city. In the meantime, the R2 zoning means 320 homes could be built on 160 acres, which is the ground that is occupied by Rancho Mirage Country Club, including the golf course and the maintenance facilities and all of those things. And the developer or the plan for development here calls for a hotel, 60-room hotel, and you've already described how that's going to be laid out, and I'm sure that most of the people at Rancho Mirage Country Club would favor that and go along with it. Additionally, the developer wants to put in 108 condos. They would be stacked into two-story buildings out in the back, occupying the area, I believe, which is currently was our driving range. And that is part of the game that I'm somewhat opposed to. I think that they don't need to build 108 condos out there. We have 266 homes. We're an R2 zoning on 160 acres, which would be permissibly to allow a total of 320 houses. And what they're talking about doing is building 108 additional to do our 266 homes that are there, which would take the total number of residences to 374. And if we could keep them with the hotel and its 60 rooms and 54 condo units, we would be at exactly 320. And that fits right perfectly to the R2 zoning that place was created under. So I would like to see fewer homes go in, and that we meet the current zoning parameters that are in existence for that. And I'd be happy to take any questions you have. Seeing none.
Thank you, Stan.
I guess I'm out of here. I hope your voice gets a little better, Richard.
Thank you. Okay, the next speaker is Bob Lucas.
Mayor, council members, first, I'm in favor of this project. Background-wise, I'm a retired U.S. Army general officer. I practice in law as an attorney up in Oregon part-time now. I've lived, my wife and I have owned a home since, the last 15 years in Rancho Mirage Country Club. I was president of the board in 2015 when the golf course was sold, and the owner immediately shut it down, turned off the water, and built that fence, 6-foot fence around our backyards. We immediately filed, or almost immediately filed, a lawsuit against them to enjoin him from doing that because we have a restrictive covenant which was placed in the county records when this was built that said so long as there's residential development in our project, the golf course will remain. After winning a couple of the first preliminary hearings that we had, they appealed it to the Court of Appeals, and it was obvious to me that we were going to be going on for years before we'd get any place with this new owner. And so we decided that we should commence to negotiate a possible settlement. We did that. I was on the committee along with our then president, Steve Downs, and we, after a few months, reached this compromise where we agreed to allow them to do some development on a limited basis. They wanted to make residences throughout the entire golf course, but instead it's confined now to approximately 25 acres located in the center of the complex, as the maps show, with we think and hope, a nice hotel with a restaurant and a bar that most of us would love to have locate there, and enough hotel rooms to make it and a good investment. And apparently, That's the issue here. Stan would like to have fewer hotel rooms, but we're advised by the developers, and there were some pretty good hotel people and some local people also that were involved, that says this is what they require, the number of rooms, in order to make this thing sell and be developed. And so we're not the experts, they are. And so we the homeowners, overwhelmingly voted to approve this project. And we've had at least 2 different votes with great results. 90% of our homeowners voted to approve the development. It's been moved a little bit since then, but I think most of us are all still in favor of it. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this item? Over here? Would you like to come forward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Paul Quill. I reside at 51245 Avenida Rubio in La Quinta, and I am here representing Oasis Ranch, the owners of the project and the applicant in this PDP case. I just wanted to say that from a background standpoint, I was selected by the Homeowners Association Board of Directors approximately 2 years ago to start working on this project, to come to some kind of resolution to kind of resurrect this phoenix out of the ashes. And I think that's what we've done today. I'm very pleased with the response that we've gotten from the Homeowners Association. I do have in the audience today, just for your reference, all of the team that has worked on this project. Paul DePilatus, the planners from MSA. Jim Vaughn is our legal counsel working on the DA with Mr. Quintanilla. We also have Francis Wong, whom you all know, with Genesis Hotel Developers, that is been an integral consultant in coming up with a program that actually might pencil and attract developers to build this community. We have Chuck Sepperson from HSA Landscaping, Paulie DiBartolo, DRBDS, designers out of San Diego. They are a phenomenal architectural firm in San Diego. And then Chris Mills, who designed the original clubhouse for Rancho Mirage Country Club in 1982 or 3, is actually the architect on the remodel of the clubhouse for this refurbishment that we're going to be doing to create essentially a new clubhouse, but also what will become the hotel lobby and restaurant, et cetera. So John Greenwood is here representing him and Prestvuxic today as well. So I have responses to some of those comments if you care to hear them, but I don't need to, I don't need to respond to anything unless you actually have questions and you would like me to. I want to say, again, I want to thank Bud and staff for an incredible, working with Bud is, he finds your mistakes. I mean, he is so thorough, so comprehensive that he makes our jobs a lot easier when it comes time to stand up here in front of you. We don't have to do the presentation because he does it so well. I think that's it. If there are any questions, we are here, the entire team, to answer those questions. And Jim Vaughn could come and speak to the comments that Steve Quintanilla had regarding some of the HOA direction. And I'm sure there are other speakers from the HOA board that are going to wish to speak. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Would you like to come forward?
Yes, thank you. So my name is James Vaughn. I'm the Land Use Counsel for the applicant. And I believe the question is just in terms of conveying the golf course property after renovation to the HOA and when that's going to happen and how. So the answer is it will be conveyed. It doesn't need to be conveyed until all the building permits for the entire project have been issued. There's the potential for a lot of potential issues during construction, and it's just a little cleaner that way. But what we have agreed to do, the parties got together and worked out a plan that I think makes everybody happy. So And by the way, that timing is consistent with the settlement agreement, so nothing has changed. But the applicant, the developers agreed to recognize the HOA will be the ultimate owner of the course in all their dealings with the city, with an investor, a future owner. So they're required to notify potential investors or subsequent owners of the property that the course will need to be conveyed to the HOA at the appropriate time. The HOA will have a seat at the table when there are meetings discussing the renovation of the course, ownership, operation issues, any of those things. And the parties will work together moving forward quickly on the various agreements and deals that will need to be made to handle the ownership and operation issues of the course. Because obviously when you have a hotel and residents and the course with different owners, there's going to be some shared costs and operational issues that need to be worked out. So that will start right away.
Have you determined what the costs are going to be to the existing homeowners?
That's one of many issues that all need to be worked out.
Okay. Steve, did you have a question on the? Okay.
Any other questions on the development agreement that I could answer?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, thank you. And I would reiterate what Mr. Quill said, in working with Bud and the staff and the subcommittee and city attorney, it's been fantastic, so thank you.
Hey, thank you. Let's see, anybody else in the audience have a question on this item? Yes, would you like to come forward?
I'm Wally Melendez. I'm just curious about what is the cost of this project and how it's going to be funded?
Not with any city assistance. Absolutely no city assistance whatsoever.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your answer.
The city's not providing any financial assistance whatsoever to the project.
No, I didn't mean how much the city was going to provide. I meant overall about how much it would be the cost of this project and how it would be funded.
Next week.
That's not necessarily a city issue, but I'm sure you can ask one of the representatives of the developer.
Is there anybody else in the audience who has a question?
My name is Elliot Friedman. My mother-in-law lives at Rancho Mirage Country Club. I've been a resident of Rancho Mirage for the last 15 years. I've been president of 2 golf clubs, actually 2 golf clubs from the beginning development. I've gone through, with legal help, some golf clubs that have been problematic. This development is very complicated, complex, and it looks pretty expensive to a point where I'm not sure they're going to find a developer. And my first question is what happens if they don't find a developer? Does this expire after the 3 extensions? My second question is, they're very fuzzy as to what the homeowner's responsibility in all of this is. I think before going forward, I think that the homeowners, which right now are paying $100 a month for watering the property, which they don't own, what ultimately they're going to be responsible for. I'm a member of Morningside Country Club. We have an agreement with the homeowners. Homeowners pay $3,000 a year to support the golf course. And this is not an unusual agreement. But I think before the homeowners sign off on this, I think they need to know what their downside risk is as far as the cost. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Steve Downs. Steve, would you like to come forward?
Thank you, Richard.
I'm Steve Downs. I'm at 104 Cavendish, and I'm president of the Rancho Mirage Country Club Homeowners Association. Two issues that we think are important. One is long-term ownership of our golf course land, and two, the opinions of the majority of our homeowners about this project. First, the ownership of the land. Settlement of our lawsuit with Oasis Ranch called for a couple of things. One, development on 25 acres in the center of our community, that hotel and residential project as presented here today by Bud. Our settlement also called for the remaining 80 acres of that golf course land to be transferred to our homeowners association after a new golf course is built on it. And so an important issue is that we will be the long-term owners of this golf course land, and when we take title to the land, we will no longer run the risk that some future other owner of this land someday decides to unilaterally close the club, destroy our views, and damage our property values. Now, as to the opinions of the majority of our homeowners, implementation of the settlement agreement required a vote, and the reason for the vote. Some years ago, when our community was originally developed, a restrictive covenant was placed on the golf course land requiring that it be operated as a golf course into the future. And any change to land use required the approval of a minimum of 75% of our homeowners, 266 homes, 195 votes required to lift the covenant and allow development. Now, before we voted, it was important that all of our homeowners were well educated on every aspect of the settlement agreement and the development plan. And so we conducted a series of informational small group homeowner meetings around our community. We conducted a couple of very heavily attended town hall meetings. And over the last several years, on the order of a couple of times monthly, we've done informational mailings and emails to our homeowners. All of our homeowners had every opportunity to understand every aspect of this settlement agreement and this development plan. The vote. 266 homes, 240 ballots were cast, and 90% voter turnout. Now, it is the case that we did have 16 no votes, including one of our good neighbors who spoke here today. You can't keep all the people happy all the time, but what we did do is we got 224 yes votes, well above the 195 vote hurdle required to lift the covenant and allow development. 93% of the vote was yes, only 7% was no. An overwhelming supermajority of our neighbors favor this plan, and many of my neighbors are here today to let you know that they favor your approval. Mr. Mayor, council members, city staff, we want you to know that we're grateful for your help and support over the last several years as we've worked hard to retain as much of our open space as possible, to return to our country club lifestyle, and to recover our property values. And we believe that your approval of this plan will help achieve those goals. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, we will now close the public hearing and we'll go to council for comments. Ted, do you want to start any comments,
Yes,
please?
thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, this has been a long journey. I had the unfortunate privilege of being out there when the fence was put up around the golf course, and it was a sad day. I stood out there with a number of you people bemoaning the fact. And one of the things that Steve Downs just said is that part of the goal here to be accomplished is never to put this project into a position again where the golf course can be sold out from underneath you and you no longer have control. I think you've done an amazing job to get 93% of the people aboard endorsing the plan. It's reminiscent, and I've said it before, of the old adage, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. In this case, Oasis Ranch, tear down that fence. And it worked. And you're now at the point where conceivably something very good can happen. That doesn't mean there isn't an unknown, and there certainly is. There's a lot of projects that come before the city council that gain approval and are not developed for various reasons, many of them being financing. and no one knows what the financing will be on this project, whether the entitlement package will be sold to a developer, et cetera. Those are the unknowns, but that's true for every single project that comes forward. So like yourselves, we're optimistic that it will work. I do feel compelled to congratulate Steve Downs, Bob Lucas, Mary Willis, all the people, all of you out there that worked hard to try to accomplish this objective. I wish you luck. I think if indeed it is approved today, that you have a wonderful opportunity to resurrect a terrific community. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ted. Iris, do you have a comment? No comment? Dana, do you have a comment?
I would just comment that if any group of homeowners deserves a good break after having gone through the turmoil that this homeowner association and all of its members have gone through, it is you. And I feel confident that everybody up here who votes yes, which I suspect will be everybody up here, we just thank you for having stuck with it so long. Steve Downs has done a remarkable job as your leader of the homeowner association. And it can't happen fast enough, and we only hope that the future is a lot easier than the past has been. Good luck.
Thank you. Charlie.
Well, as a member for 23 years as vice president of my homeowners association, and I'm still alive here to talk to you all, I really do commend all of you for sticking together. And as everybody has said here, we are very proud of all of you to see the value of what you have done, and especially to work together to see this through. And I, of course, wish you all the best and success with this project. Thank you. And I do hear happiness out there now, right?
Thank you, Charlie. Bud, do you have a closing comment?
I do. I just want to make sure that any question that came up has been answered. I won't address any opinions, but one question came up. Does it just expire after 3 time extensions? And the answer to that is that the applicant certainly has a right to refile in its current form for reconsideration. But also, if the applicant can also do a major or minor modification to adjust the project to meet the buyer's specifications or a hotel operator's specifications. A hotel operator may come on board and need some tweaks anyway. And so some of those, if it's consistent with if it's substantially consistent with the council's approval, if the project is approved, then we can work at the staff level. But if it's a major modification, then it would come back before you again. So there are mechanisms to adjust the project. It's not just what's approved today. If it's extended, it just dies. That's not the case.
Thank you, Bud.
Mr. Mayor, I'll just make a quick comment. First of all, I wanted to thank Bud for the amazing job that he has done through this entire thing. But I also want to make comment that we up here have felt your pain too. We have felt, along with staff, the frustration that we know you've experienced. And you've hung in there, and we are just so pleased that things are taking this direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, you had one comment?
Just one final comment. Today we're rotating the mayor, and I'm sure that Lucy Beeples and Jeanette Seaman are here for that, but I bet they're also here for this too, because it was both the former mayor Ron Meeples and former mayor Alan Seaman, both who brought this whole issue to my attention 15 some years ago, and I've been out there marching in the mud with the two of them, and they were very deeply concerned about the welfare of that community. And back then we were dealing with lakes, and because of these two here, and you were here too, and you were here, they adopted a lake ordinance that required all the lakes, all these artificial lakes out there to be maintained properly. But I'm glad to see that Jeanette Seaman here and Lucy Beeples are here today to witness this, as well as our mayor rotation.
Steve, how many lakes did we walk through and talk to? And
Just 5 out there, and there's 18 over there.
it was a long issue, and it seemed like we were always talking to Japan about what was happening in Rancho Mirage Country Club. But we're glad to get to this point in the decision-making process. Obviously, all of you think this is a good deal. There's a few of you who don't necessarily agree, but hopefully as we go forward, we'll be able to change your mind, and so there'll be 100% support of this project. It's time to take care of the uncertainty that you all have experienced recently with the value of your property going up, going down, not knowing what to think will be the next move. We are hopefully presenting to you or approving a solution that will benefit all of you, benefit certainly the city of Rancho Mirage. And we're certainly glad that you are all here today to hear the discussion and be able to support your group, your homeowners, and start from today going forward on a new Rancho Mirage Country Club. So thanks for being here. And so we'll go forward with a motion of this on this item. And Ted, would you like to make the motion?
I'd be happy to, Mr. Mayor. It's my pleasure to recommend to the City Council the approval of the filing of a mitigated negative declaration based on environmental case number EA 18-0001. B, introduce ordinance number next in order. First reading, approving development agreement case number DA 18-0002, pursuant to Chapter 17.56 of the Rancho Mirage Municipal Code. C, introduce ordinance number next in order. First reading, approving general plan zoning land use map case number GPZ MA 18-001, based upon the contents, findings, and conditions in the staff report. D, approve tentative tract map case number TTM3 7461, based upon the content, findings, and conditions in the staff report. And E, approve preliminary development case number PDP 18002, based upon the content, findings, and conditions in the staff report.
Seconded.
There's a motion and a second. Do you please vote?
Motion carries 5-0.
Congratulations, Rancho Mirage Country Club. And
Congratulations to
we'll
all
have a
of you.
5-minute break, 5-minute recess.
Very good.
So good to see you. Yeah, it was great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Hi. Good. Congratulations. Ted Weil. Ted Weil. We're going to do what? Where is the new mayor? She's left town. Sorry, you guys get another year. Here's the first man of the city of Rancho Mirage, the driver. Hello, guys. Are you part of the Smotrich family? You are. Okay. It's good to have you here today. If we could find Iris, we could start this program. Okay. You guys got any jokes or anything you want to tell? You guys leaving already? Okay. Reserve seats for you right up here. Okay. Meeting's adjourned. We had another 30 seconds, Cyrus, and we were moving to the mayor pro tem next. Well, we're certainly glad you could all be here today. You got a little bit of government by looking at Rancho Mirage Country Club issues, and we're glad you decided to stick around. And for the second half of today, every year we do the changing in the guard and move from one mayor to the next mayor. And The process began about 18 years ago that we began the rotation of one person to another, and really without getting politics involved. We just, you'll hear more about the process as Christy describes it later in the day. But this is the transfer of the power, and it's kind of easy to get it done. So today we're going to introduce you to some of the people that make us successful in this operation, namely our spouses, and get to know them a little bit better. And so first of all, I'd like to recognize two of our older, I think Jeanette and I are the same age, are we not? But we've invited two of the spouses, prior spouses, up here, and every year they come back, and it's so good to see them. And the first individual is Jeanette Seaman. Jeanette is the spouse of Alan Seaman. Alan was on the city council for 20 years. And Alan actually was responsible for me getting on the council. And I still try and get back at him for that. But it's great to have you here, Jeanette. Next to Jeanette, yeah, those are pretty flowers, aren't they? Next is Lucy Mepos. And Ron Mepos was the spouse. And Ron actually served for 9 years, 10 years. Okay, so long time, and Ron did a great job while he was with the city, and great accountant, and really watched those numbers, and we're glad to have you back again today. And next in line, Vicki Hobart. Vicki, First Lady many times. She takes care of Dana and makes sure Dana gets to the chamber in time and the council meetings in time. And it's great to have you with us. Dana, was it 16 years? 18 years? We're almost there.
Two behind you. So you remember your number, that's mine. 2 under.
I'm 19, you're 18, huh?
17.
Okay. And next to Vicki, it's great to have you here. And next to Vicki is Tom, the better half of Tom and Iris. And we have a little boutonniere if Olivia can get it on okay. Tom, it's good to have you with us. You're here, rain or shine, for all our meetings. And we're glad you're participating in the process. And last but not least is my better half. And this is Becky. Becky is the current lady of the city. And she's also a bride almost 1 year now. We got married the 26th of May, so very good. So she's done a great job getting through all the hectic last year, and it's great to have you here too. And we have two additional presents here, Olivia. This is for Tom, and this is for Vicki, and we are holding back presents for Jenny and Robert.
And my Robert.
You can take those when you're on the way out.
I will.
And we have a special bouquet for the former First Lady of Rancho Mirage. Wow. Yeah. You can take that to the Ritz with you. And, yeah. Okay, so now we'll get back to the actual transition of power. And so I'm going to go up here, and thanks again for being here today. This is the biggest audience we've had since the last one, so thanks again for being here. Well, I'd like to say a few words before they throw me out of here and Iris takes over. Okay. So it's really been a great honor to serve as mayor over this past year for the prestigious city of Rancho Mirage. This has been my 5th term as mayor, and I really feel it's my best one. The city had many changes. We had substantial growth and development in 2018 and 19. As always, we continue to move forward in a positive direction with the very least getting better and better. As mayor, what stood out to me in this year was every employee that worked for this city has heart. When goals were achieved, a project or initiative completed, residents certainly were happy, but the employees' hearts were also fulfilled. Everyone always has a pride in our great city of Rancho Mirage and always guided by the same standard of excellence in everything we do. Isaiah, it's been great working with you over this year and look forward to continue our relationship. To my fellow councilmen, members, I consider you family and truly respect each and every one of you. Thank you for all you have done and supported me in this last year. Johnny's not here, but Johnny and Christy and Steve, all the department heads that normally sit up here with us, you've been my driving force and kept me organized and on schedule, and I am forever grateful to all of you. I end this year proud, content, and ready to take my council seat till next time. So thank you very much. Thank you, council. Thank you, staff. It's been a great year. Thank you. Iris?
I think it's my turn now.
City Clerk. Christy?
Yes, so item number 6 is the determination of length of service and appointment of mayor and mayor pro tem. So good afternoon again, mayor, council, and staff. In 2004, the City Council adopted an ordinance establishing procedures for the appointment of the mayor and mayor pro tem pursuant to voter-approved measures J and K. Measure J requires that the mayor be appointed by the City Council for a 1-year period on a rotating basis. Measure K requires that after appointment of the mayor, the City Council shall appoint as mayor pro tem the council member who, to the greatest extent possible, appears to be the person most likely to meet the eligibility requirements to succeed the current mayor in the following year. In non-election years, the appointment of mayor and mayor pro tem takes place at the second regular city council meeting in April. Prior to these appointments being made, council members are identified by the length of time they have had continuous service without having served as mayor. As shown on the table in the staff report, service records indicate that Iris Smotrich is due to serve as mayor and G. Dana Hobart is due to serve as mayor pro tem. And that completes my report. I'm available to answer any questions you have.
Do we have a motion, please, for the official guidelines here?
I'll make that motion to accept the changeover.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay, and now I'll ask.
To switch seats.
Oh, go ahead, Iris.
Who's on the box here?
I'm sorry?
Who's next?
So I would like to have Mayor Pro Tem Hobart meet me down in front of the dais to be sworn in. you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which you are about to enter?
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Mayor Smotrich, if you would like to come down and do your oath. Which side do you want? Which side do you want to stand on? Do you care? Okay. So raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which you are about to enter?
I do. Okay, so what a wonderful group this is out there. I'm just thrilled to be able to sit here and to see everyone out there. So without further ado, though, perhaps I can have Richard down in front to present a little bit of something in honor of his changing chairs. Okay. Well, I think it feels like we've done this before. And what is so amazing is that it has been 5 years since we've done this. But what's even more amazing is that neither one of us have aged any. So, congratulations again for all you've done, for all you will continue to do. We are so honored that we've had you for all these years, serving in all these positions, and once again, back on the council. And for all those who are not aware of it, Richard Kite has been in the Valley a majority of his life and has lived in Rancho Mirage for over 27 years. He has a passion for serving the community and has served diligently on the Rancho Mirage Council for 19 years. During this time, he has served as mayor 5 terms, and he has always done so with great grace and dignity. I look forward to working with Richard for many years to come and truly appreciate all his hard work, his dedication, and the fact that he epitomizes what a mayor should look like. In fact, if you open up your dictionary and look for the word mayor, chances are you'll see a picture of Richard Kite. So, almost. So I would like to now present him with a gift on behalf of the City of Rancho Mirage and the City Council members. You have truly been a five-star mayor, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all your efforts and for being our mayor again. So, although I cannot lift it up, maybe you can. Yes, as it says, Mayor Richard Kite served as mayor for the City of Rancho Mirage from 2001 to 2002, from 2006 to 2007, from 2010 to 2011, from 2013 to 2014, and from 2018 to 2019. This has been like Richard's second home, and probably sometimes like his first home. Anyway, so if we can come in front here, we'll take a picture. Well, I look at this audience and I am just delighted to see so many wonderful faces and people that love Rancho Mirage as much as I do. And the people who have served here, we have members here from our chamber. We have members from our staff. We have people who have served on our commissions. And it's just a joyous day when we can celebrate all the things that we have accomplished. So thank you and welcome to another joyous day in Rancho Mirage. As most of you know, so much has been accomplished over the last year. New businesses, new restaurants, educational programs and musical concerts at our amazing library, lots of shows and movies at our amphitheater, as well as our incredible Writers' Festival at our library and our speaker series at the Galen Center Auditorium. But none of these could take place without our amazing staff. They're dedicated, they're there whenever we need them, and they're there usually before we even need them. Needless to say, our staff is a vital component of every project undertaken by Rancho Mirage. Rancho Mirage is undoubtedly unique in many ways. The expectations of our staff members and our council members is very great, but our rewards are even greater. And everything we do is based on the council and the staff working together as a team. Teamwork is how we improve year after year, whether it's road repairs, working with our homeowners, or working with our developers. Teamwork is what makes it happen. So I am so privileged and honored to work with such a fine group of council members and staff members, and I thank everyone immensely. And I feel more than confident that we all will continue to work together to provide the best city possible for our residents, our businesses, and all of our visitors. Thank you so much. Is this mine? Is that what Richard's? Okay. Okay. We are now open for business, and if there are any public comments that people would like to make, I welcome you to the podium. And if not, we will move on with our regular business. Okay. Okay.
Motion of the minutes.
Okay, next on the agenda is,
Yes.
yes,
So
next.
this is, that was a comment period for the mayor rotation. Non-agenda public comments are happening now, and you will be called up if you have a speaker card.
Okay, so this is the time for non-agenda public comments, and it's an opportunity for the public to speak on issues that are not on the agenda for a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. So I have a number of yellow cards here. If you have not filled out a yellow card but wish to speak, you will be able to after we go through the people who have filled out cards. And the first one is Jack Srebnick. That does help. Well, welcome, Jack.
Welcome and congratulations. I will talk very briefly because Ted reminded me that the suit has to go back to the store by 3. So I want to start off.
It's very becoming.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to start off by stating that I'm here representing the greatest chamber there is in this whole valley, as we all know, but none of that happens without you. The city council and the mayor have been so supportive of the chamber. I actually started my first year in the chamber with your first year as mayor, so I feel like we went around, and again, I agree with you, I didn't age.
Yeah.
But I want to thank Mayor Kite. You really went far and above everything. You've been at almost every mixer. You've been at ribbon cuttings. Becky, thank you for tagging along or pushing him. The most exciting one was all you saw in the news was about this guy named Bud on Sunday night at 9:30 slept out at Krispy Kreme to get a donut on Tuesday morning. Nobody said that Richard was number 2.
Okay.
So I just want to go over a couple of things that's happened since we last spoke. The State of the City address was probably the finest State of the City address we've ever had, thanks to Ritz-Carlton. Chamber of Commerce worked with the city, and Richard did an excellent job, as you all always do. But we want to thank you so much for continuing that tradition and letting us try to make it better every single year. We had over 300 people. If you got out a little late, you know that because you got your car on Friday morning. Last night we had a chambercella, and you'll be very happy, Steve. We were not sued by using that. We got through it. It was a mixer at drinks. We had about 80 people there. We want to thank Drinks for having it there. It was a lot of fun. People dressed up like they're going to Coachella and had a good time. As I said, the greatest phenomenon in the world happened Tuesday morning at 5:30. Krispy Kreme opened after a short 3 years. And I will tell you, being that Todd and I own Maracas and Slice, the cars are still backed up. It is unbelievable how many people want to get online just for donuts. But hey, it's better than other things. Yesterday, we partnered with a blood drive with Renova and Big 106. There were over 75 people came to donate blood, which is a great cause. About a month ago, the other longest project in Rancho Mirage opened, O'Kane's. They opened the Friday before St. Patty's Day, and on St. Patty's Day, their electric went out for 4 hours, which people say that's the luck of the Irish. We've had power lunches at Sunrise Country Club in Norma's, which brings leaders together to just talk. There's no agenda. You have to eat lunch anyway. You come in, you talk, you have a good time. And we had a business over breakfast education series, which is sponsored by the city, and it featured Gen Z entering the workplace. I didn't know we're up to Z. I was up to X, but I guess we're at Z now, and it was very eye-opening. We had 11 new members to the chamber in the month of March, and that goes out to Katie and Rhonda, who's doing an unbelievable job for the chamber this year. And we just have a lot of great things happening in the future. We love your continued support. Iris, welcome back. We missed you. And Richard, thank you so much. Appreciate everybody.
And thank you so much, Jack. Next to speak is Bob Terry.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, staff. I'm here on behalf of the Salton Sea Coalition to thank you for your time, your energy, your poignant questions, and the use of your facilities for the Salton Sea study session. I believe this will go a long ways towards our goal of saving the sea. Also, I hope you've had a chance to read today's column, my Valley Voice column on the Salton Sea, where I address last week's Valley Voice that called for letting the sea and the birds die. You will also notice from that piece that we are not fighting the North Lake project, rather we need to explore any avenues that can finally address the environmental disaster that the sea is fast becoming. Again, thank you for your help.
Thank you so much, Mr. Terry. The next speaker will be Scott Robinson. Welcome to Rancho Mirage.
Thank you, Mayor, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And council members and city staff, thank you for letting us present today. We want to do a little something special for a very dear friend of the Boys and Girls Club in Cathedral City. And I failed to state my name, Terry Nelson. Charlie knows. Yeah. And I'm the board president over at the Boys and Girls Club Cathedral City. And this is my wonderful mom. She is an ambassador. She's been an ambassador over at the Boys and Girls Club for the last 5 years. So at this time, we'd like to take a few minutes to recognize Charlie. Well, this is Scott Robinson, the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Cathedral City.
Thank you, Council. Mayor, congratulations. Very exciting. A couple of weeks ago, we had a Champion of Youth Awards on behalf of Boys and Girls Club of Cathedral City here in Rancho Mirage at Aqua California Bistro. And we honored many of the people from Rancho Mirage, like our very own Pat and Joe Manhart. We honored the Rancho Mirage Women's Club, and we had great support from your chamber. It was a wonderful chamber and great friends of ours. But somebody that was unable to make it, and we wanted to take the time to acknowledge the Champion of Youth Award presented to Charles Townsend in recognition of your outstanding commitment to our youth, community, and Boys and Girls Club. The vision, enthusiasm, leadership, and courage that you provide is an inspiration to all. So we'd like to honor you with this right now.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. It's actually really beautiful.
Oh, it is beautiful.
This is so unexpected.
I know.
I say. Thank you, babe. Appreciate that. Thank you, sweetie. Appreciate it. Thank you. What a great organization this is, everybody. Really, they're wonderful and deserve the help of everybody and all the boys and girls and the kids that they
Here comes Katie.
do.
Come on, Katie.
Come on, Katie.
Come on, get in the picture.
Katie will do it. Oh, that's sweet. Come on in. There you go. Well, this is great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your time, and thank you. You know, the warmth that was displayed here today was so special, and thank you for crossing the border and helping our kids. By you helping them, I keep them from breaking in and causing trouble over here in Rancho Mirage. So keep doing that great work.
And thank you all for coming back. It's great to honor Charlie for all the work he does. Did you want to say a couple words before we moved on?
Well, you know, I have to say that I was very honored several years ago to be asked to come and tour when they were getting going, and what they have done and accomplished. Over the last few years, they have just grown so much. But I have to say, the support and everything that they do for so many kids, picking them up from school and having them there in the afternoon, and the games and the education, that the programs that they have. And Terry has a photo shop that he shows them how to do in computers. And I'm just happy that I could be a part of this, and I want to continue to grow with that partnership with you guys, because you do a great job. And also that what the city of Rancho Mirage has given to them over the years is so greatly appreciated by them and all of you who support me in this endeavor. Thank you.
All right, the next to speak will be Mr. Wally Melendez.
Good afternoon, and congratulations, everybody. And Richard Kite, I like that you were the mayor. You didn't try to take advantage of the bully pulpit, as it's sometimes called. And Iris, congratulations on your ascending up to be the mayor. And I don't know if you're going to refrain from using the bully pulpit, but we're taking a chance. And I like all the work that you all do. And this has been a very exciting meeting. I usually don't stay this long. And I was impressed with all of those homeowners that are pushing a project that probably cost a lot of money and so on. So thank you very much for this wonderful meeting.
Thank you for coming up. And the next to speak will be Robert Mueller.
Council and Mayor, congratulations.
Thank you.
My name is Robert Mueller. I'm a resident of Rancho Mirage. At the conclusion of the Salton Sea study session, there was unfortunately no opportunity to individually thank every one of the council members, but it was an incredibly informative session. And the council's willingness to hold the study session and the council's conduct of the study session made me very proud as a Rancho Mirage resident. And I think any Rancho Mirage resident viewing the study session on YouTube will have a similar sense of great pride. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller. And for all those who would like to see the meeting that took place, that was our study session, you can also see it on Rancho Mirage television. If you are a resident of Rancho Mirage, it will be on Channel 17. And it airs every day probably, and sometimes twice. So thank you so much. The next speaker is Brad Anderson.
Thank you, Brad Anderson, Rancho Mirage. I live on Ferber Drive. I just wanted to mention again my same old thing. I'm going to talk about the Coachella Valley Mosquito and Vector District. I noticed I pulled some numbers last week. This is hard numbers to find. The district won't supply them. I had to go all the way up to state to get them. But the Aedes aegypti species has been running rampant in the valley. Well, actually all over the country, but Rancho Mirage, the last detection was March 29th, and over in Palm Desert was April 11th, April 10th, down in Palm Springs, Indio, April 12th, Coachella, April 12th, and Mecca, April 11th. I don't have Cathedral Cities, I must have overlooked that. But I know for Rancho Mirage, I actually seen the trap, and it wasn't ideally located, so I'm sure that's why we didn't detect anything last week. But that shows you, well, it shows me how important this is that we get a handle on this, because they're here. The mosquito species is here. That's the Aedes aegypti. And the vector district is apparently not willing to share that information with the public, because they should be here today. They should be at all these meetings conducting public, I forget the terminology for that, but just notifying the public of this type of information, because it's so important that we get a handle on this. And as residents of this city and anybody that's listening to this, if you have saucers, plant saucers, that's the big one, dump them out, spray them out every week. That's what you can do on your property. And the vector district would hopefully do the drains and things in the city streets and catch basins and so forth, if they're operating like they should. But I'm fearful they're not. But I just wanted to mention briefly that according to what I've researched, down in Mecca, North Shore area, 600 and something in a trap, or one of the mosquito traps, and that's the highest in the state. And that's unacceptable. And we really need to get a handle on this. So if you see something, say something, call the district, make them come out and work for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay, now moving on to council member comments. Should we start with Charlie?
Yes, you may, and I thank you. Do I call you Miss Mayor or Mayor or hey,
anything you want?
Iris, thank you very
fine.
much. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Richard for your leadership and guidance over the past years as mayor. You really have this mayor thing down. It's number 5. However, there's another milestone that has happened here. When I was mayor, my last act that I realized was told to me that, Charlie, you are sitting with 5 of your council people who have all been mayors, which is a milestone. So we passed a resolution that the 5 of us are honorary mayors forever. So there, and I appreciate that, and I'm very proud of that. In all seriousness, it's truly been a pleasure working along side by side and looking forward to another great year together, working together in the goodness of this great city. And I thank you. Iris, I want to say to you, it gives me great pleasure to extend my warmest congratulations to you again as mayor. And Richard may have the, the Hollywood image, but you sure have the Vogue image too as our mayor. So congratulations to you and all your boundless energy that you will put forth through this, as you do every day, 24/7, since you were elected to this council. Love you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charlie. And I don't know how true it is, but I have always been told that once you are a mayor, you keep that title forever. It's like being an admiral or a colonel. Yeah. So I will forever be referring to you and all the others as Mr. Mayor.
Yes, it's a milestone here, so I'm very proud of all 5 of us. It's wonderful.
We are all proud of each other. Thank you. Dana, is there anything that you'd like to say?
Well, as you remember these fine words that Charlie's just bestowed upon you over the coming years, just remember how much we appreciate the work of everybody who's been a mayor and who will be a mayor. And you've already shown great class as a mayor, and we have high expectations for you.
Thank you. Okay, moving over to this side, Mr. Mayor Richard Kite. No comment, all right.
Well, thank you for all the positive comments.
You are welcome. And now another Mr. Mayor, Ted Weil.
Thank you, Iris, and congratulations to you on the new term. I'm sure you'll do a great job. And Richard, thank you for your service through the many years and your friendship. Indeed, appreciate it. The COPS program was formed 25 years ago to serve as the eyes and ears of the Sheriff's Department. Law enforcement is our single most important priority. And those of you that are familiar with the budgetary process in our city knows that it constitutes a major expense. This program is made up of dedicated volunteers who reside in the community. These individuals assist in reducing potential crimes by being highly visible in their random daily patrols and in their direct communication with the public. They receive training from the Riverside County Sheriff's Department and from the Palm Springs Police Citizens Academy to be able to address the non-confrontational matters, provide first aid and CPR, emergency preparedness, and traffic control, among many others. There are approximately 30 volunteers collectively that provide an astounding 1,000 voluntary hours a month. Recently, I had the great pleasure of riding along with Robert Schwartz, captain of Rancho Mirage COPS program. I am grateful, I am grateful. During my ride along with Bob, he talked about his career as an accountant, the many countries he has lived in, and his dedication to this program. He also talked about his father in a tea plantation. We had a lot of time to chat. Bob also spoke about the people who volunteer, the regions they focus on, and how beneficial the COPS program is to our community. And I am grateful we have individuals who are willing to volunteer their time to serve, watch, and protect our community. I want to thank all of the Rancho Mirage COPS volunteers and liaison Brian Kephart, Senior Compliance Officer, for their continued dedication to this wonderful program. Bob is in the room with another COP driver, Marilyn. I don't know if the camera can pick up Bob, but if you'd stand and wave for a moment. And we thank you again for your service. And Bob, it was a pleasure being with you that day. Thank you so much. I'd also like to mention, if I may, Mayor, that the paper shred flyer that's going to be displayed in a moment is a program that we provide for our residents. It's a terrific program to protect your identity and your environment by participating in the city's free document shredding and e-waste collection event. I know that in my neighborhood and the HOA, they get out the information to all of the homeowners about this particular event. It's going to be held on Saturday, April 27th, and available to all Rancho Mirage residents with proof of residency. The free event will take place at the Rancho Mirage Library and Observatory in the west parking lot from 8 a.m. to noon, or when the trucks are filled, whichever occurs first. All documents will be shredded on site and then recycled. Examples of documents one might shred include tax documents, bank statements, real estate transactions, and other legal or confidential papers that one does not want to put in the regular recycle bin. Shredding will be limited to 6 12 by 17 by 9-inch boxes of documents per resident. E-waste such as old televisions, computers, monitors, cell phones, printers, and household electronics will also be collected free of charge and recycled. Residents may also drop off batteries for household devices such as laptops, flashlights, handheld radios, and other small electronic instruments. Household hazardous waste such as paint, pesticides, automobile batteries, light bulbs will not, I emphasize, will not be accepted at this event. For more information, contact City Hall, 760-324-4511. We hope to see you there, and please take advantage of another wonderful service presented for the benefit of our many residents by the fabulous city of Rancho Mirage. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you all for your comments. Moving on to the minutes. And since these are the minutes of April 9, special study session meeting, and April 9 also, was the regular meeting. So,
Option of both.
okay, so if there are no additions or corrections, we have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Thank you all. Moving on now to item number 7, which is the public hearings, and we will continue. And this is DHO Medical Office, and it'll be presented by Ben Torres.
Good afternoon.
And I wanted to note also that you are an associate planner.
Yes, that is correct. Mayor Smotrich, and congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you.
We're just waiting for the presentation. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council members. Preliminary Development Plan Case Number PDP 19001 and Environmental Assessment Case Number EA 190001 is a request from DHO Property LLC to construct a 13,812 square foot medical office building. This project is located on the northeast corner of Bob Hope and Victory Drive within the office zone. The project site is bordered by Bob Hope Drive to the west, Victory Drive to the south, and Landy Lane to the east. Surrounding uses include the MSA Consulting Office to the north, Victory Christian Center to the east, Mission Hills Senior Living and Dental Implant Center to the south, and the Mission Hills Residential Community to the west. The applicant is proposing a one-story, 13,812 square foot medical office building on a 1.91 acre project site consisting of 2 parcels that are conditioned to be merged. Behind the building and along Victory Drive and Landy Lane, there is a generously landscaped parking area with a total of 85 parking spaces, of which 7 will be handicap, 2 will have electric vehicle charging stations, and 32 will be covered parking spaces. Ingress and egress to the project site will be provided from 2 access points along Victory Drive and Landy Lane. Site sections of the project site are shown at the bottom and right of the plan. For Victory Drive and Landy Lane, the building placement, carports, and retention basin are shown on the Victory Drive site section. The building's architecture is best described as a desert contemporary. The architecture has deep overhangs to provide strong and defined massing, in addition to providing shade to the east, south, and west elevations. The building's west and south elevations are shown from this rendering, which show the building's deep roof overhangs, variations in color and material, and variations in building heights and massing. This rendering is from the project's parking lot, which shows the continued variation in the building's color, massing, and deep roof overhangs. The building's main entrance, located at the center of the building, is well defined through the use of landscaping and a dedicated walkway leading from the parking area. Building materials for the project include cement plaster in a dash finish, porcelain tile, and metal. The plaster material will be painted in a variety of desert tone colors, which include muslin, play-on gray, weatherboard, and center ridge. The porcelain tile will be a dark gray color, and the metal panel screen wall will be a Sierra tan color. The west elevation will be the building's frontage along Bob Hope Drive. Building heights from this elevation range from 9 feet to 20 feet 6 inches. The building's deep roof overhangs provide solar protection to the various storefront windows along this elevation. The building's east elevation will serve as the primary entrance into the building and will have a small employee patio area. Like other elevations, plaster and fixed storefront glass are the primary building materials. The dark gray porcelain tile column within this elevation adds additional interest to the building. The building's north and south elevations will both have variations in building heights with a maximum height of 20 feet 6 inches from the top of the Sierra Tan metal screen wall and a minimum of 9 feet. Colors proposed blend and complement the building's architecture. The south elevation will front Victory Drive. Landscape for this project consists of a variety of large trees, palms, shrubs, ornamental grasses, and accent plants. The building's frontage along Bob Hope Drive is richly planted with various mulga trees, California fan palms, and complemented with new gold lantana and Texas Ranger shrubs. Cresta boulders and other accent plant materials are spread throughout the landscape. A singular 36-inch box Joshua tree is placed at the center of the building along Bob Hope Drive. The project street frontage along Victory Lane is planted with various Palo Verde trees, new gold lantana, and Texas Ranger shrubs, and a variety of accent plants. Along Landy Lane, the retention basin is generously planted with various mulga trees in addition to a wide assortment of shrubs and accents. Within the parking lot, Palo Verde trees will provide additional shade to the parking spaces. Ground covers consist of Hickory Creek crushed stone and desert gold decomposed granite. Enhanced paving is provided at the project entrances in a Catalina blend color. Staff have added a condition of approval to require a 30-inch to a 36-inch high landscape screen across the parking areas adjacent to public right-of-ways to screen them. This medical office building will be used for the Desert Hematology and Oncology Medical Group, which consists of 5 physicians, 2 nurse practitioners, and support staff. The physicians specialize in hematology, which is the treatment of blood disorders, and medical oncology, which is the treatment of various cancer types. The floor plan will have various exam rooms, a laboratory, pharmacy, billing, and a large treatment area, in addition to other rooms common for a medical office. The photometric plan shows that there will be adequate light levels provided within the parking area, and as conditioned, light will be contained within the property. Light fixtures proposed include a freestanding LED light poles that will have a maximum height of 15 feet as conditioned, LED enclosed and gasketed angle lenses located under the carports, and LED bollards along the building entrance. The medical office use is a permitted use in the office zone, and the location of the subject project fits well with existing uses on surrounding parcels. This project was presented to the Planning Commission on March 28th, and at this time, the Planning Commission recommends that the City Council approve 1, the filing of a categorical exemption pursuant to Section 15332 infill development projects of the California Environmental Quality Act based on environmental assessment case number EA 190001, and 2, approval of a preliminary development plan case number PDP 19001, subject to the content, findings, and conditions in the staff report. This concludes staff's presentation, and staff and the applicant are available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Benjamin. Are there any comments or questions from council? Richard?
Ben, great job, great report. I think the architectural aspect of this building is really exceptional, and I think they've done the kind of planning that we like to see in our office buildings. So good work, and hopefully we'll approve the building.
Thank you, Councilman Kite.
Okay. Yes?
I think also one of the byproducts is that this takes some of the pressure for space at Eisenhower off, because this essentially is setting up an ecology, if you will, an entity that would have used conceivably space at the hospital or at the medical campus. So I think that's a byproduct of this particular project.
Very good.
Thank you. That's it. Okay, Charlie?
I'm good.
No comment?
Thank you.
Dana?
Beautiful.
Did you wish to have? Okay, I'll open it now to the public comments. If you have any questions or comments you'd like to make, please come up to the podium. All right, seeing none, I'll close the public comment segment and move on to a motion for approval.
I will make a motion for approval, and the City Council, A, approve the filing of a categorical pursuant to Section 15332 infill development projects of CEQA based on environmental assessment case number EA19001 and B, approved preliminary development plan case number PDP19001, subject to content findings and conditions in the staff report.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay,
It's great to see all these new developments and these new buildings coming in, too. It's wonderful.
yep. Okay, please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. And now moving on to item number 8. And this is going to be presented by Mina Dusic. And I'll let her take the reins and go.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and council members, and congratulations, Mayor Smartrich.
Thank you.
Before you is an application for a one-year extension of time for tentative tract map 34435, also known as the Verdana subdivision. The tentative map is located on the east side of Duval Drive, just north of the Tuscany residential development. The red rectangle represents the 10-acre project site. The property is zoned as medium-density residential, 4 dwelling units per acre max. The subdivision consists of one 10-acre parcel of land, which will be segmented into a total of 27 single-family residential lots, along with multiple lettered lots for common areas. The residential lots range in size from 11,400 to 18,200 square feet. A private street provides access to all 27 lots of the subdivision. The project's density is 2.7 units per acre, which is lower than the 4 dwelling units per acre max that is permitted in the zone. The entry will include 2 inter-aisle planters and will contain a 36-inch box Palo Brea tree, a base of desert shrubs with rock cobble, and the entry keypad. 6 California palms will be located on either side of the drive aisle. The planters within the entry area will have a variety of drought-tolerant shrubs, cacti, and ground cover, ranging in size from 5 to 15-gallon plantings. The paving for the entry of the subdivision consists of gray pavers. The 2 retention basins within the community will also incorporate drought-tolerant landscaping. The proposed project meets and exceeds the requirements of the municipal code. Staff is recommending that the City Council approve the requested extension of time. That concludes my presentation. I would be happy to address any questions.
Thank you, Mina. Are there any questions or comments from council?
Question?
Yes.
Mina, is there a requirement for color tile or access on the property?
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Is there any requirement by the city that the developers put in color tile at entryways and that sort of thing?
So there's no municipal code requirement. The applicant has proposed a paved entry that's going to be a gray paver.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. No further comments? We'll open it up to the public. If anyone has any questions or comments from the public, please come to the podium. Seeing none, we'll close the public comments. And may I have a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion to that the City Council approve a one-year extension of time for tentative tract map 34435, TTM 1X34435, subject to the conditions of approval and based on the findings and content in the original staff report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you so much. And now we'll be moving on to item number 9, and that will be handled by our city manager, Isaiah Hagerman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Staff would like to request a continuance of this item to the May 2nd council meeting. We did receive a couple questions that need clarification with the DVBA, and staff would like another 2 weeks to be able to get them the answers to their questions. So we are requesting that the council approve a continuance to the May 2nd meeting for this item.
Okay.
And if the council wants to do that, we do not have to take public comment, and you can just vote to continue it to May 2nd.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comments from the council? Okay, may I have a motion?
Move to continue.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you so much. And now moving on to item number 10, and this will be handled by Joseph Carpenter, and he is our finance manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and congratulations.
Thank you.
The city derives its annual revenue from several sources, including user and regulatory fees. User and regulatory fees are intended to cover all or a portion of the costs incurred by the city for providing fee-related services and activities that are not otherwise provided to those not paying the fee. When user and regulatory fees are not set to collect the reasonable cost of providing the services, activities, or materials to those that incur the fee, the cost of providing these services are subsidized by other revenue sources. The item before you this afternoon concludes what has been about a 2-year process. In May 2017, the City Council approved the award of a contract to ClearSource Financial Consulting for completion of a user and regulatory fee study. Mr. Terry Mattson, president of ClearSource, spent the ensuing months interviewing city staff from every division in City Hall, calculating the cost of providing fee-related services, estimating revenue impacts of fee modifications, remodeled the city's fee schedule to correlate to prevailing services and practices, prepared an updated schedule of fees for City Council review, and provided staff with cost recovery planning for ongoing maintenance of fees. The study examined all of the city's user and regulatory fees, including but not limited to planning, public works, building, fire prevention, administrative, and special event and film permit fees. In addition to reviewing city's existing fees, the study also introduces 2 new fee types that the city has not collected in the past. A technology enhancement fee, which will be dedicated specifically toward hardware, software, and services that enhance the city's ability to effectively serve the development community through the use of technology, and a community planning fee, which will partially offset future general planned housing elements and other zoning updates. The objectives of the study, the methodologies used to complete the study, and the proposed schedule of fees were significantly influenced by Article 13C of the California Constitution and Section 66014 of the California Government Code. The outcomes and recommendations of the study are intended to comply with applicable federal, state, and local laws, including those providing confirmation that the proposed fees are no more than necessary to cover the reasonable cost of the city's activities and services addressed in the fees. Furthermore, the study is intended to show that the manner in which the costs are allocated to a payer bear a fair and reasonable relationship to the payer's burdens on or benefits received from the activities and services provided by the city. At this time, I would like to invite Mr. Terry Mattson, the consultant, to the podium to briefly discuss how the cost of service for the fees were calculated and present the findings of the study.
Thank you. And welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the City Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you this afternoon. As Mr. Carpenter mentioned, the city is in the final stages of a user and regulatory fee study. The findings of the study are intended to help you make decisions about whether to adopt an updated schedule of fees. As you reviewed the report and you heard Mr. Carpenter's comments, you may have heard the phrases cost of service and cost recovery frequently mentioned, and I want to provide an overview of those 2 topics because they're so frequently mentioned and they're so significant to the study analysis. So the first phrase we use frequently is cost of service. What we're trying to do is identify the city's cost of providing fee-related services. And these are fees rather than taxes or utility rates. These are fees for services provided to a specific beneficiary of service or a specific requirer of service. And they're really service-driven fees, so there's a labor component. And so what we're trying to do is identify the value of labor and the estimated time required to provide a service, and identify that as what it costs us to provide a service. So if we said the value of our labor is $150 per hour and something takes us an hour to provide, the cost of that service would be $150. If a different activity takes us 2 hours to provide, the cost of that service would be $300. The hourly rate is influenced by salaries, benefits, services and supplies, agency and departmental overhead. So it's a buildup of the full cost of service. The cost of service represents the city's legal ceiling. So a city can recover costs up to the cost of service, but cannot exceed the cost of service and fees it collects. And so now I would like to move from the concept of cost of service to cost recovery. Cost recovery, you may hear this in your day-to-day operations as a city council, but we frequently mention full cost recovery or partial cost recovery or no cost recovery. Once we know what our cost of service is, in the fee study setting, what we say is, well, do I want to recover full cost recovery, full recovery of those costs from the fee payer, or do I want partial cost recovery, which means a portion of that cost of service is coming from a fee payer, but the remainder of that cost of service is coming from some other city revenue source. And typically this would be your unobligated general fund revenues. So what we're trying to illustrate is that the cost remained the same. It's just the funding source of those costs, whether it came entirely from the fee payer or portions of it from a fee payer and portions of it from some other city revenue source. The idea behind recovering costs for these types of service is that idea of a specific or distinct benefit being provided and intending to free up as much of your unobligated general funds as possible to provide services that provide more general or community-wide benefit. Things we think about are public safety services, public works services, those kind of things. But this chart illustrates that the difference between what you choose to collect in a fee and your actual cost of providing that service is the subsidy that the city is providing from some other city revenue source. It has been many years since the city's last comprehensive fee study, more than a decade. And so what we found is that there is some significant under recovery of current costs. And because of that under recovery, what we're recommending is a phase-in approach to enhance cost recovery, but not correct the situation overnight. Fees, there's multiple categories of fees. Within your planning fee schedule, you may have 65 or 70 different individual fees, conditional use permits, development agreements, things like that. But in broad strokes for your, the report identifies each fee individually, but for purposes of this meeting, what we can see is we could broadly categorize fees into planning, public works, building, and then the two new fees Mr. Carpenter mentioned, a technology fee and a community plan fee. And what we see is in aggregate, the city's current fees recover 39% of what we'd identify as eligible fee-related costs of service. Under the proposed fee schedule before you today, that cost recovery would be improved, enhanced to 68%. So you would continue to under-recover in several fee categories. Where you have close to full cost recovery now, you'd move that direction. And really the long-term target is moving toward full cost recovery for these development-related fees, but doing it via a multi-year phase-in because of the significant under-recovery today. The city overall, what the study showed is that the city can significantly enhance its revenue and its cost recovery, so it can improve the under recovery, but the idea is to improve it via a multi-year approach. We did examine several fees, so when you modify fees, what you try and do is find 10 or 12 fees for similar services provided in other jurisdictions and make sure that the changes you're proposing won't turn you into a regional outlier. And so there's hundreds of fees. In some areas, you may end up at the higher end of the spectrum, and some of the fees you may end up at the lower of the spectrum. But we tried to pick a broad range of fees, and what we found is because it has been so long since your prior fee study, the fees we examined, you were at the lower end of the fee spectrum. Even after making these adjustments, you stay within that mid-low range of the fee spectrum for what we were examining. I think that's part of your, fiscally conservative approach. And so we didn't see anything that would indicate that these fee changes would move you to a regional outlier to a high end. These fees are set by the City Council, but at the conclusion of a public hearing. So this is a public hearing, and if you elected to adopt the fees, they go into effect on July 1. There's a 60-day waiting period, so we decided to make the fees effective at the beginning of the fiscal year, if you choose to adopt. The recommendations for this from this study are to adopt the resolution establishing fees and to continue to adjust these fees on an ongoing basis, but use a phase-in approach to enhance cost recovery, and then to make sure that you're periodically examining your cost of service and comparing that to fees you're collecting to periodically perform these full cost of service studies. I thank you for your time. I'm available to answer any questions or receive any feedback you have.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions or comments from council?
Madam Mayor, if I could.
Okay.
Written testimony was received from the public that was included as attachments to the staff report. However, yesterday, the City Council and staff received letters from the Desert Valley Builders Association and the Building Industry Association Riverside County chapter that I would like to address.
Okay.
While DVBA found the study reasonable and appropriate, there is one point of policy or practice on which they disagree, and that is the newly created community planning fee. DVBA contends that legislatively required updates or those proposed based on council's desires and/or with community input are not the responsibility of the new or future construction industry. Staff and ClearSource recommend that the fee be kept as part of the study, as collection of the fee is permitted under California Government Code. BIA states, among other things, that the fees are proposed are not calculated or modified in an equitable manner, but rather are unlawfully delegated to the building valuation data and the building official. The 2018 International Building Code discusses the use of building valuations for fees. Multiple cities in the state of California use building valuations as a metric for calculating fees, including most Coachella Valley cities. The study does not unlawfully delegate the setting of fees to the building official. An increase in fees cannot be imposed by staff. They must be presented to the City Council for consideration, as is being done today. Any proposed future increases in fees, such as but not limited to revaluation of an external source, such as the ICC building valuation data, will be brought before the council for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Okay, any comments or questions from?
I have a question, but I don't know who to direct it to exactly. I'm looking at page 10-14, and the chart on that page shows a general fund subsidy of 1.3 million covering these five or so, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these five categories. Is there something that prevents us from recovering something more than the figures that we are recovering and have less of a subsidy from the city?
Mayor Pro Tem, there is not anything that prohibits us from doing that. It was staff's recommendation because the increase of the fees was so high because of how long it's been since our last increase. We weren't proposing full cost recovery at this time, but if it's council's desire, that's something we can amend on the report so that what's adopted is 100% cost recovery.
Well, maybe over the course of the coming year in one of the committees, we could look at that and see if there is some, I don't know that we should do anything arbitrarily. Everything works fine the way it is, and I don't mean to shake it up any, Isaiah?
Yeah, and that was our thinking behind making the recommendation of not going to full 100% because we were pretty low because it had been about 10 years since we went through this process. And what this study does is it gives us the ability to meet with a subcommittee and take these back to the council over time. So each year we can analyze where we're at and how we're doing and make these adjustments over time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Good report.
Go ahead, Richard.
Isaiah, do we run any risk of any lawsuits or litigation for not raising the rates in accord with the rest of them in the valley?
No. So the council can set the fees as long as it's cost recovery. So this is not a profit-making venture for the city. That would be when we would, or if we didn't allocate the costs appropriately. But within this study, which is why we hire somebody like Terry to do this, if we follow this plan, no.
Okay. Yes, Ted?
Yeah, and even with this plan, we're still at only 68% recovery.
Right.
So that we're not at full recovery, and we can phase that in over a period of time. So it appears to me to be a very practical, reasonable plan. And basically what we're doing is we're subsidizing the difference out of our general fund. And so there's no reason for us to continue to do that.
Well, I just think that it's something we should look at carefully over the coming year. I don't think it's something we should sit here and arbitrarily try to modify without significant input from staff. So anyway, I'd move adoption.
We do have a few requests to speak. So.
Okay, opening up to the public, I have a request from Erica Harnick. She is from the Building Industry Association.
Good afternoon, Mayor Smotrich, Mayor Pro Tem Hobart, Council, and staff. My name is Erica Harnick, and I'm with the Riverside County Building Industry Association. First, the BIA would like to thank Council and staff for making the changes as it relates to the building official's role in altering builder fees. However, we still maintain concerns with the automatic CPI. Secondly, the BIA acknowledges the 50% reduced plan check fee for tract housing, but this reduction should also be applied to inspection fees. The current building department's calculation methodologies based on valuation is detrimental to developers, and therefore we believe item 10 should not be passed, or at the very least, that the city bifurcate the building department fees from the rest of ClearSource Financial Consulting's fee study. The BIA recommends that the City of Rancho Mirage modify their fee calculation methodology to one based on effort extended. Finally, the BIA recommends the city not adopt the modifications of the building department fees by the CPI escalators, but rather follow the statutory process provided in the California Mitigation Fee Act. With these concerns, the BIA cannot support the currently proposed fees. We appreciate our partnership with the City of Rancho Mirage and look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker will be Damian Fusel. And Damian is also with the Building Industry Association.
Good afternoon, Mayor. I had Mr. Mayor in my speech, so that's already out. But I just wanted to congratulate the new mayor and the new pro tem. It's good to see you guys are liked so much, so that's awesome. But anyways, as you just heard, my name is Damian Fussell with the Building Industry Riverside Chapter, and I'm very happy to be here today. But anyways, I'm here to talk about item 10. There's a couple issues you heard from my associate, most of them, and also our letter, but also wanted to touch on the housing crisis issue. As a lot of you know, if this passes, It'll be a lot harder for our developers and our constituents of Rancho Mirage to be able to afford a home. As many of you have heard, our governor recently passed a mandate to have 3.5 million new homes in the next 7 years by 2025. That averages about 500,000 per year. We've averaged about 80,000 homes in the past years since the recession. There's about a demand for 180, which puts us short of about 100,000 and almost 500,000 when you include the governor's mandate. Because of those, we certainly support an opposition to this. We're in favor of opposition. Also, as my associate Erica mentioned, we would hope there would be a change to how the study was done in terms of the cost. We're hoping for a cost based on square foot instead of the ICC valuation table. We feel that that would be more equitable and more of a benefit to all of us and all of the constituents. Finally, there's also a government code that I will read in a sec in regards to the CPI increase. We find that this code indicates that there needs to be another meeting in order to justify that change, and I will read that for you right now. It is, existing law requires that prior to levying a new fee or service charge, or prior to approving an increase in an existing fee or service charge, a local agency shall hold at least one public meeting at which oral or written presentations can be made. Any action by a local agency to levy a new fee or service charge or to approve an increase in an existing fee or service charge shall be taken only by ordinance or resolution. The legislative body of a local agency shall not delegate the authority to adopt a new fee or service charge or to increase a fee or service charge. That's Government Code Section 66016. Because of those reasons, we implore a no vote on item 10. Thank you for your time. Congratulations, Mayor and Pro Tem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one more speaker from the next speaker will be at this time Deborah McClary, and she is from the Southern California Gas Company.
Our favorite utility.
You know, everyone tells me that. That's only because when you get your gas bill, it's like, you know, I could actually, this is good. I could put on auto pay. Again, congratulations to Mayor Smetrich. That's just really great to see you and actually see a woman as a mayor in the Coachella Valley. I commend you in your accomplishment. And of course, congratulations to Councilmember Kite. I've known you for many years and have been working with your city for many, many years. And I have to say, I was very pleased to see the former First Ladies. So I don't want to take too much time, but I have to tell you, I was very pleased to see them. It's been a long time. The only thing that I want to bring up as Southern California Gas Company, and I want to say, first of all, thank you to the city, thank you to Jesse, thank you to the staff for providing us some information. Again, we love working with your city. As a matter of fact, when I spoke to some of our clerks today, they said, Deborah, whatever you do, don't mess it up. We love working with them and everything works really well. Your inspectors are really good. We love working with the folks. The question that I had was primarily with regards to the utility fees and the new fee that you broke out, which basically is, I understand, and as I've mentioned in many meetings that I've had with the city, that when we're doing work, we want to make sure that your cost is covered. I want to make sure that I specify that. It's fair. The one question I do have is that a lot of cases when we're doing work within the city, sometimes we're only making possibly like maybe a 4x4 cut, which is just how we're getting in to actually maintain our facilities. And it may just be one cut. However, what's being specified here is $300 for up to 100 square feet. So we may not need, to actually use that. We like to make sure that we're covering just our cost or your city's cost with regards to what needs to be done with regards to inspection, and I understand that. And so I would just recommend if there was a possibility with regards to our fees when we're actually just doing the maintenance. This is not for new services. We never ask that our new services actually be covered in a fee structure that falls underneath our blanket. I don't know how much of you understand that we get a blanket permit from the city. It allows us to go in and do the work on our facilities to maintain it. And we also pay a franchise fee to the city, which goes into your general fund to help us and gives us the rights to go ahead and do what we need to do. The thing is that I just want to make sure that it's fair, that we're not paying $300 for every single type of cut that we do, where we could have an unlimited amount of cuts for, that 100 feet. which is how it's specified in here, but to actually just pay for what the actual cut will be. So if we had one smaller cut, maybe that would be what we would use most of the time, and it would just be one fee rather than $300 every single time. So right now it's $80. It would be going to $300 for every single one of the permits that we pull. So it's just something that I just wanted to bring to your attention. Something to think about. I don't know if this would be something you would want to hold over for another 2 weeks to see if there's something that we might be able to come up with your consultant in the city. Just a suggestion. Again, enjoy working with you guys. The city's great. We want to make sure we keep your roads nice and clean. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Are there any questions or comments from the council for Deborah?
I'd like to just have
Okay,
a
go
couple
ahead.
comments to respond to the first speaker's issues.
Well, we have one more speaker from
Oh,
the,
you did?
yes, from the Desert Builders Association. And her name is Gretchen Gutierrez. Come on up.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of the council, and city staff. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to speak with you this afternoon. First of all, congratulations on your appointment here today, Madam Mayor. Should have happened a little earlier. We just did a mayor's program for us a couple of weeks ago, and we had all the other 3 lady mayors speaking. We would have loved to have had you too. Oh, well,
next time.
In the future. First of all, we'd like to say thank you to the city staff for working with us so closely on this particular item. We've also worked extensively with Mr. Mattson. We've worked with him previously on other studies, both within the community and within our organization, so we really appreciate his professionalism and the courtesy that he extends to us as a member of the Building Industry Association. So we appreciate that considerably. As was pointed out by Mr. Carpenter, we are in approval of, and recommend that you adopt this current item on your agenda. We have spent extensive time with the city staff and with your consultant going line by line, and I do mean line by line on this study, and looking at it and saying this is correct, this is incorrect, this is good, this is bad, and everything in between. So we spent a lot of time looking at it, a lot of back and forth, and we are substantively supportive of it, with the exception, and that's the letter that was referenced that Mr. Carpenter just made that was submitted to you all yesterday. It is on that new line item that is regarding paying for any general plan, housing element, and zoning ordinance updates and having the new development community put it into their costs. The reason that we're objecting to it is twofold. One, new development doesn't usually have a seat at the table when it comes to general plan updates. And so if I don't know how we'd work around that to get them to have a seat at the table, but that's usually because they're so far out in planning that they aren't able to have that option. The second thing is it's mandated by the state to have to do that to you as the city. So in our view, we don't believe that that's beholden on development that's going forward. Just as a segue, you heard a little bit ago from your new project that is being proposed here at the golf course and things. And one of the questions was asked was, how much is it going to cost to build that project? And that's a massive project. It's going to be millions of dollars in development costs and fees and construction costs, et cetera. So we want to be cognizant that they're not going to be burdened with a lot more additional items that they would be looking at. It's going to be a big win for that community. It's a big win for you as the city and for the neighbors, et cetera. So we'd like to definitely look at areas that could be applicable, and this is the only one, as I say, that we're asking you to give consideration to removing from the study is that one line item. With that, we are in support of you adopting this today with the effect of it going into place July the 1st. So thank you very much. Again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all. And if you have any questions, and I'm going to segue for a second. I know I got no time left at the moment, and I realize that you're hearing from the 2 different sides of the industry that are representing stakeholders and builders here in the community and things. I'd like you to know that we have appreciated greatly the ongoing relationship we've had with the city of Rancho Mirage, with the staff here, both the current staff and prior staff, as well as the consultant that you've retained for this particular study. So thank you for that opportunity again to speak to you.
Thank you. All right. Stephen, would you like to?
Yeah, just for the benefit of the public who's going to be watching this, because we have the benefit of having the staff report here and everybody clearly understands what we're dealing with. I just want to clarify that we're dealing with cost recovery fees. We're not dealing with mitigation impact fees. Those are different. That's the item that was continued. So we're required basically by law to have a study that justifies that we're recovering our actual costs, that we're not exceeding an amount of the costs that we actually incur. Otherwise, that kicks it into a level of a tax or changes it into a tax. We're dealing with just cost recovery. So the developer doesn't incur this cost unless they submit an application for an entitlement. So these are actual services we're providing. And so just to be clear, so the recommendation is staff's recommendation is only to recover 68% of that cost. So technically, we can recover an additional 32%. So that 32%, if you go along with this recommendation, it's going to be subsidized by the general fund, as was pointed out here. So I just wanted to clarify that for the viewers.
Thank you, Stephen. Okay. Oh, any comments or questions from the council? Okay, no one? All right. Isaiah, did you have a few words you would like to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that spoke on this item. It was a long meeting and you guys held out through the end. We do appreciate working with developers, and we understand their perspective, and I think that they understand ours as well. And with the gas company, thank you for being here. Terry, would you mind commenting on the utility fee?
I'm happy to comment on the numerical analysis, and then if the Public Works Director wants to chime in as well. But what I can tell you is that there are certain services where you think to yourself as a member of the public, how can this be? This is a smaller project than this project, and I'm doing just this little amount of work compared to maybe some more significant work. The way this particular fee that was calculated, that was brought up by Mrs. McGeary, is that there is just this base level of review and inspection that's conducted by city staff when something's happening in the roadway. So there is not an idea of, oh, there's more, we're assuming there's going to be 6 or 7 cuts and we're pricing it that way. The fee was calculated, the cost of service was calculated under the most typical scenario. And when you're dealing with fixed fee services, what you're looking at is 6 out of 10 times, 7 out of 10 times, what would I expect this process to take in terms of service time? And on that fee in particular, the actual cost of service was calculated in the $350 range, but staff's only recommending a $300 fee. So again, still less than full cost recovery is recommended.
Do you have any other comments or anything you would like to make?
Unless you have direction for me.
Nope.
I'd like to ask him a question if I could.
Oh, yeah.
What is the rationale behind approving a subsidy to businesses that are making a profit?
In today's world, there's less and less rationale behind it. So this is an editorial comment, but I would say post 2011, post 2012, there has been this more significant sort of consideration by city councils of all of their revenue sources, because there is this competing challenges to the city's general fund.
It's called public safety.
Public safety, right? So you're trying to figure out, how can I make the best use of my revenues available? And so the idea is, if I can identify services that are specifically benefiting somebody, do I have any sort of community goals or values that would influencing me from not targeting full cost recovery? These cases are things like frequently maybe youth sports programs, senior programs. You may say there's a specific benefit there, but I still choose not to recover my full cost. But for development related issues where the development community, there's a for-profit incentive or there's an enhancement coming, then usually what we're seeing is cities targeting full cost recovery. But when you've gone a long time, sometimes they say, if I'm able to fiscally, if my city budget can handle it, maybe I'll get there over a number of years rather than overnight, if I have some significant under recovery. There are other communities that say, I've identified the under recovery and I choose to move to full cost recovery 60 days from now, and because it's what I'm authorized to do.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Councilman, now that we have this study, this is something that we can monitor on an ongoing basis. So if you wanted to refer this to a subcommittee, the subcommittee can dive into the details and we can go fee by fee, and there is a percentage next to that fee, and we can talk about each fee and what the percentage of cost recovery is. So this is a document that allows us to continue to analyze it in the future. So if a subcommittee wanted to in the future make recommendations to the council to increase that percentage of cost recovery, we do it based off this study. So it doesn't require a restudy.
So you're suggesting we pass this and then look at the subject as we may desire?
Yeah, because I think it's important to go fee by fee basis. So there, you know, on page 10-77 of the report, it starts to list out each fee and what the percentage is. So I think working with from a staff perspective, being able to work with the subcommittee and give the basis behind the fee, what it is, who pays it, I think that's an important dialogue, and we can always bring this back in the future and recommend a higher percentage of cost recovery.
Okay.
Well, then, are you in favor of approving this as is or sending it to a subcommittee to review before it's approved?
Staff is in favor of approving as presented. And then we can always take this to a subcommittee, and that would be for future actions. So in general, you know, many things got summed up. Not every fee is 68%. Some of the fees are higher. Right. Specifically with the general plan fee, we appreciate the position of the DVBA. From a staff perspective, it's not the whole general plan fee, so it's only a portion of the cost of a general plan update that's being allocated within this fee. So it's not like we're taking the entire cost of a general plan update and wrapping it in as the basis. We only took a fraction of the cost, which was 100,000?
Correct.
Okay.
So are we taking a position on item 10 by approving this?
We are.
So staff is recommending approval of the item today.
Item 10, okay.
Was there not a motion made by Dana before?
No, there was no
No,
motion
it was
made.
out of order. We hadn't
We haven't
spoken,
heard
so
from
you could make
public
a motion.
comments
Go ahead
yet,
and
though.
make it.
Okay, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to comment or ask a question, please feel free to come to the podium. Seeing none, I'll close the public comments and ask for a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion that the City Council adopt Resolution Number 2019, next in order approving and adopting an updated schedule of user and regulatory fees.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you all. And now we'll move on to Steve Quintanilla.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Council is now going to recess in a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1 to discuss the existing case of Veronica Juarez et al. Versus City of Rancho Mirage.
Thank you. And the meeting is now adjourned. And thank you all for attending.